Okay, everybody, so welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Ian, and as promised, I'm going to be recording a bunch of simple step by step sequences or strategies for building things in community that pretty much anyone listening to this or watching this can implement with their own chosen group of professional peers or publishers, niche neighbors, etc. So in this case, we're going to look at, and all these ostensibly are going to be an alternative to Substack, to building everything on Substack. I see a lot of people who are sort of spinning their wheels using Substack solely as the primary, engine for your publishing business practice platform, etc. And I just think it's ultimately a bad idea and a most likely ignominious end for most of us who rely strictly on Substack. So this particular tutorial is going to be for folks who want to create private podcasts or even public podcasts in community. So we're using Transistor, which is a fantastic platform for a community-oriented audio feeds, private courses, or public podcasting. And in this case, I'm just taking an example of one of my own podcasts that I just created last week, and we're going to go in this side navigation element. You're just going to go to people, and the beauty of this is that you can actually, once you have a Transistor account, which is very inexpensive, you can just start to collaborate with the people that you choose, and build let's say, an audio course or an audio community or, an audio book or a series of audio books. And if you've been part of our community newsletter on Substack, I've sent out some things in the last couple months about audio-based books and things like that we're trying to actually publish together. But you certainly don't need to respond to those to do this on your own. And you can see here you can create a user type for each one of the people that you invite, any of your professional peers or people you want to collaborate with in community. They can be hosts, they can be guests, they can be editors, they can even be administrators, I believe. So you can open an account with a small group of people and just share, the administration, role across your platform. All right, so in this case, you can see, you would add the person's name, you can choose a role, and this is where you would decide whether they are, an editor, a writer, a guest, a composer, a producer, etc. Some of those, I think, are distinctions without a difference. I'm not really sure. An editor or a host has different permissions than a guest does. I don't think I've ever used the composer designation. So I just don't know what that actually is, but you could figure that out. And then you could, create for each one of the people that's in your group a short bio, picture, different links to their own things. And then you can essentially assign them to episodes so that they are, if it's a collaborative thing, then, if you're talking to somebody or recording a course or something, like an audio feed that's going to be a, community oriented project, you would have all the folks who are participating in that particular feed in one place. As you can see here, this is just a single episode in this particular example podcast. It was recorded on the 5th of August, which was about 2 weeks ago. And I would, this is just kind of an example podcast that I'm using for tutorials like this one. But if I wanted to, I could take this person here and assign them to this podcast here. I'm not going to do that, but you get the general idea here. And then essentially, you can start to invite people to log in. Let's say you created a community based podcast for authors, artists, and entrepreneurs that you want to actually scale over the course of the next, weeks, months, years, etc. You would simply, create a community feed that can do all sorts of cool things. And people have different roles. They can access the back end of your Transistor account, and it would be a community project rather than your project at that point. And it's just really a great way to, you know, collaborate with other people in a profitable and really actually easy to apply sort of way without lots of, tech headaches, without, needing to know a lot of design or things like that. All right, so I actually created this sequence of steps for this particular strategy, and this recording is just a little bit extra, kind of back end peek at what a Transistor account looks like. And this is, again, to my eye, much more advantageous than doing something like this on Substack, where you're kind of signing over. You're not building your brand on your own land. You're actually building everything on Substack, and you're kind of handing over the keys to your community in some real way, to the Substack, algorithmic eccentricities and all the ways in which they can surface or not surface your brand, your community, your content. I know, as someone who's built a number of newsletter businesses over the years with partners and in different, kind of publishing platforms, Substack has been the single most difficult, kind of nut to crack, so to speak, for me. Like, I've posted things on Substack on my main account that, I think are funny or memey or whatever, and literally I get zero. No one looks at it. I get like 6 views, and I've been, doing this for a couple of years, and I'll do the same thing on another platform that has a similar sort of audience. And again, my main account is really like mindfulness, mental health, etc. And that same thing will get, 200 comments, or, lots of responses, reactions, good, bad, or otherwise. So, I've become a bit skeptical of spending a lot of time of my own on Substack as the newsletter, platform of choice. And I,